Here we go, AKAPADers. Is A Quiet Place the greatest new modern day horror franchise? Because I just watched A Quiet Place day one that came out earlier this year. The movie made some bucks, didn't kill it at the box office, but it made money. It cost $67 million. It relatively looks like maybe $115 million movie. Made $261 million. So it did make some bucks. It's doing the rounds right now in Paramount streaming. If you go into your Amazon account, it should be advertised right in front of your eyeballs. I went into this movie expecting, a tired gimmick at this point. And I got something way different. And I got something we have to talk about. So let's get to it. It's October, and it's time for the 31 Days of Dread. This is where you get one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's how much we love horror. That's how much we love Halloween on the Film Buff Podcast. And here's the crazy thing. This is the longest running horror event in all of podcasting. So get ready. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to scare our socks off. And yes, we're going to be grabbing some candy. Maybe some cereal. Let's go. I just have to say, we're going to say it again. We love horror on this podcast. I can't believe I've been at this for so many years. It's tough. It's tough building the 31 Days of Dread anymore. I know every single year I talk about how more and more difficult it is. The last 2 years we're doing whatever has come out this year. We're almost doing like an annual horror review for the 31 Days of Dread. One of the reasons for this, and it connects directly to why this movie is so good. One of the reasons for that is modern day filmmaking, the ideas, the visionaries, the people behind the movies. They're going to horror. Some have now since, and AKAPADers, my film buffers, we're years ahead of this observation. But we're getting a lot of articles nowadays that state horror is in a golden age. Horror is in another renaissance. And that's true. But the reason for that, no one's pinpointing it. So we gotta say it. New talent runs through horror because it's the only genre in American film, in filmmaking period, that's just not compromised. Or if it is compromised, something like people might want to say Bodies, 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 the Pete Davidson movie that we did like on this podcast. If we're getting into diversity, equity, SJW-ness, all those silly wokeness buzzwords. Yeah, some of that's in movies. Okay. It's not so well detectable or affected in horror. So filmmakers just they just don't feel boxed up. So they're able to jump all in on horror. Michael Sarnoski. This is our guy. This is our writer, director. This movie is also produced by Brad Fuller, Michael Bay. I'm a big fan of both of those guys. You guys know how much I love the Michael Bay Transformer movies. Michael Sarnoski made a movie with Nicolas Cage. Cage, by the way, has taken over American horror. He really has. Nicolas Cage is in 1 or 2 banger horror movies a year. And 2 of them, Arcadia and Longlegs, will do this year, by the way. If I haven't done them already, for 31 Days of Dread. He made a movie with Nicolas Cage called Pig. And Pig is a flat-out tour de force. I don't want to say masterpiece because I feel like I've been saying that a little bit too much, but it's a masterpiece. Let me betray myself. It's a masterpiece. So this guy makes this movie with such a crazy, far out, fun idea. It's about a pig that can sniff out truffles for restaurants, and someone kidnaps the pig, and Nicolas Cage is hunting down his pig. That's the movie. He makes that movie. That movie's fantastic. I don't know one person who has seen that movie that doesn't love it. So they get him for this one, right? You make one good indie movie, you get graced by the power of Nicolas Cage, you get your big budget, here's your shot, right? Quiet Place, day one. Nothing I saw about this movie I liked. Like, I didn't like the trailers. I don't even like the name. I think day one is just, I think, like, can we, I don't know. How about Rise of a Quiet Day? That would have been better. There's nothing I liked. I didn't even enjoy the first 30 minutes or so of this movie. Because it played out exactly how I would have predicted it. I'm 30 minutes into this movie. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do this one for the 31 Days of Dread. I just can't do it. So it's fun sometimes to get that turn, right? To march in a single direction, to be convinced, right? Like, prove myself wrong. And during the act of watching this movie, I was proven wrong. The movie stars Lupita Nyong'o. She's fantastic. Justin Quinn, who's fantastic. But the real star of this movie, outside of our writer-director, is Alex Grapas. Alexis Grapas. That's the guys. I'm sorry, I had trouble reading that. That's our music. The music in this movie is very much, and we spoke about this before. If you want to target a movie that does this, what I'm about to say perfectly, it's the original 1968 Planet of the Apes, where the music is the narrator. The music is the audience. The music is us. We're the music. The music speaks to us at times in such a particular, perfect way. We're connecting to this movie in another realm. It works for Planet of the Apes. It works for this movie. This movie picks up right when you think it should. When those little alien dudes, the little alien guys, right? They detect sound, but they don't like water, which I forgot about. They don't like water. And this whole movie is about saving a cat. And we're just in survival mode, which is perfect. There's parts of this movie we loved it on this podcast, called Bushwick with Dave Bautista. There's elements of Bushwick that are in this movie. They are very much parallel, but it's survival. It's a abandoned city. It's apocalyptic. These aliens move quick. They decimate everything. And we don't have any knowledge of, like, we kind of see some of where they've hit throughout the globe. We get like a little bit of a hint of that. We get a little hint of kind of their hive. Like, I don't want to spoil too much of that for you guys. I think that's a great revelation. And, you know, like a little bit, some hint towards their purpose. But they decimate everything. We see some of the military. All this crazy stuff, right? And what we don't get, and I want to say they can't do it, but we want them to do it. And the more we want them to do it, they're not going to do it. Which is, we need a analysis, we need a military, we need one of these Quiet Place movies, because I do feel like we're in primetime Quiet Place zone. We had two good movies. We have a lot of characters we love. The guy surviving in this movie, spoiler right there, with the cat is amazing. The letter at the end is amazing. The ending of this movie is amazing. It sticks with you. All of these characters that we love, because this movie builds trust and love through the protagonist, through us, through the audience avatars, with John Krasinski in that first movie before his death, right? With Emily Blunt in the second one. It's amazing, right? It's all of this stuff. But what we want is a military version of one of these movies, from the military perspective, from the newsroom perspective, of what they think these creatures are doing, how they're tracking them. Did they see them incoming? Do we know anything about their origin? Have we captured any of them? Are we developing techniques to fight them? Because and I love it in relatively quick. New York City becomes a ghost town, which seems impossible, but let's just say, but people relatively quick understand the threat, that they cannot make noise. They know this right away. I love that about this movie. They got it out of the way. Basically, we get it out of the way in the first 30 minutes because the girl's on the bus, the asteroids come, everything goes into white ash, she blacks out, they wake her up, you can't talk. Boom. Like, perfect, we're going. And then it's one amazing set piece after the next, where we have a very, the day that the day the Earth stood still. No. One Day After Tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal, where they're on top of the glass and the glass is cracking. We're able to see through. It's the whole Dennis Quaid shopping mall. I'm falling through the skylight of the shopping mall scene. We get like some of a version of that, but it's the aliens and they're crashing through everything. We just see them through these planes of glass. We go from there. We go underwater. We're rocking and rolling, and somewhat like Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. We get to a river. We get to some boats. This is Children of Men type stuff, and we gotta get to the boat, and that's it, right? It's good. It's you can say this movie's filled with tropes, but I don't care. I think they're all great. I think all the set pieces work. I think watch this movie first. Watch these movies in chronological order. I think it's there. I think they can make a third one of these. No big deal. Keep it going. I say this is one of the best modern day franchises because we still don't know anything about these creatures. And think about it. It took James Cameron to make Alien. We get some exposition. They make Aliens. We learn everything about the xenomorph. And then they make Prometheus. I know Prometheus was like 30 years later. But, they're continuously dissecting even with Alien Romulus. They're constantly chipping away at the at the discovery of this creature, and the more people know, the less they're drawn into the franchise. I am so split at this point, unless they nail it perfectly. Not knowing too much about these aliens, good, but I want to know more because we do get some of those horror movie questions as we're watching this movie. Like, can we just nuke them? Can we just drop a daisy cutter on them? Where's the Apache helicopters? All of this stuff. But it leaves so much more to be explained. Because we want to assume, right? We kind of want to assume that there's a hierarchy. Maybe there's other creatures that came in during day one. Bigger, more of a threat creature, maybe flying creatures that they can kind of believably compete with the military. And that's like one of the biggest questions that we have to answer. But I kind of want to say, my AKAPADers, don't do it. I love the mystery of these creatures. I really think it works, and I think it absolutely defines survival horror. Oh, and big shout out to Djimon Hounsou. Holy crap. Is he not good in everything he's in? I think he is. AKAPADers, the 2024 31 Days of Dread. Another episode, another day. It's been a pleasure. AKAPADers, thank you for joining me for another episode of the 31 Days of Dread. We have been dedicated to horror for a long time on this feed, on this podcast. If you guys want to know more about everything we do here, go to akapad.com. From there, you can navigate to the 31 Days of Dread. We have a dedicated landing page that goes through all the years of the 31 Days of Dread, and we also have a directory that jumps you to any movie that we've done. So you can just look up the movie by name, you can go to the directory, it's all alphabetical, and you can just explore. And that's the intent, and that's why we're so into the 31 Days of Dread, because no one's done this. No one has put this much time, this much thought and effort into American horror and international horror, and we love it. Horror is the future of American cinema. Horror right now is holding up American cinema, and I'm so thankful for it. So I'm hoping that you can extend yourself, explore, and continue the conversation. AKAPAD.com. Thanks, guys.